Zhang Henshui wrote The Cause of Crying and Laughing, putting down the pen in the first half of the 20th century. The writer Zhang Henshui became famous with novels such as Chunming Foreign History and Jinfen Family. As a northerner, Zhang Henshui finally attracted the attention of southern newspapers and invited him to serialize the novel The Cause of Crying and Laughing in news. Because the story was vivid, it caused a sensation. On March 17, 1930, the supplement Happy Forest of Shanghai's News began to serialize a novel in progress. The series continued one after another until November 30th of that year. During the serialization period, it caused a sensation and readers couldn't stop, which greatly increased the circulation of the newspaper. After the series was completed, the work was immediately published in a single volume, which was reprinted in huge quantities. It became the popular Cause of Laughter. The author of the book, Zhang Henshui, has written many novels before, most of which were serialized in newspapers and periodicals, which attracted considerable attention from readers. In particular, Chunming Foreign History began to be serialized in the Pearl supplement of Peking's World Daily in 1924, which lasted for 7 years and ended in 1930. The novel The Jinfen Family lasted for more than 6 years, February 1927 to May 1932. It is huge in length, published for a long time, and has had a great. However, when newspaper articles were published at that time, there were unwritten divisions into southern and northern circles. Zhang Henshui had been writing for many years at that time, but most of his works were published in Beijing, while very few were published in Shanghai. In May 1929, the Shanghai press corps came to Peeping. At the welcome meeting of Leijin Yexuan in Zhongshan Park, Zhang Henshui was introduced by his friend Qian Jichen and met Yan, the editor of the supplement Happy Forest of Shanghai News. Yan Du did not read many of Zhang Henshui's works, but he left a good impression of extraordinary works. He then asked Zhang Henshui to write a novel for Happy Forest. This gave rise to the work The Cause of Laughter. The Cause of Crying and Laughing is not as extensive as the foreign history of Chunming and the Jinfen Family. This is the result of Zhang Henshui's consideration. Because it is tentative, for a newspaper that has newly signed a serialization contract, the text seems not to be too long. It is precisely for this reason that the author put a lot of thought into the structure, plot, characters, and rhythm of this work, trying to make the work concise and complete, which was also an important factor in the success of subsequent works. In order to arouse the interest of Southerners, Zhang Henshui designed the protagonist, Fan Jiashu, to be a young student from the south who went to Beijing to prepare for the entrance examination. In Beijing, because of his novelty, he visited the famous Tianqiu and other places, met Guan Shoufeng, a bold martial arts practitioner, and then met his daughter Shugu, who also had kung fu. This is a line in the work. Later I met Feng Shi, a girl who sang drum lyrics on the Tianqiu, and then met her family, which developed into the main line of the work. In addition, through the wealthy relatives who lived there, I met the rich girl Helena. These 3 lines are intricately intertwined and rise and fall one after another, arousing the reader's extremely high reading emotions. According to the author Zhang Henshui's recollection, when the article first began to be serialized, readers felt it was a little trivial, probably because it was out of sight. But soon people became interested. Among them, the line "The man in the martial arts" is about the editor Yan Du who, in order to take care of readers' tastes, is afraid that if I don't have heroic characters here, it will be less attractive to readers, so I have repeatedly asked me to write to knights. For Zhang Henshui, this was not difficult, because both his grandfather and father had extremely superb martial arts abilities. However, he felt that the popular works about martial arts at that time were too overly complicated and had become a cliché. According to his own thinking, he tried his best to write plainly and reduce the over-exaggerated magic. Make it more in line with the real character description of the social environment. Many serial novels that appeared in Shanghai at that time were written by famous writers from the South. Famous artists just show off their talent, picking up the pieces at their fingertips and writing them away, with few elaborate works. Sometimes several famous writers are even arranged to write 1 section a day for a work, which is called a joint novel. The publication of Cause of Laughter has a legendary color, and at the same time has a human flavor, which is very catching. According to the analysis of a friend of Zhang Henshui, one of the factors was that transportation was inconvenient and travel was difficult at that time. Southerners often had to resort to writing when they wanted to travel to Beijing. The Cause of Laughter is written about Beijing through the eyes of the characters. It introduces the scenery of Beijing and describes the very distinctive scenes around the overpass, which is also very attractive to readers. The sudden popularity of Laughter is controversial and is also related to a number of other factors. When the novel was being serialized, according to records, when Shanghai citizens met, they often used the stories in the work as conversation topics to predict the fate of the characters. Many people who did not read newspapers on weekdays also subscribed to newspapers. Shanghai citizens were well educated and adapted dramas. Movie requests are pouring in. Minxing Film Company and Dahua Film Company even launched a lawsuit over the issue of exclusive filming rights. These lively actions further aroused readers' interest and became an external factor driving the fanatical newspaper reading in society. There should also be another layer. The good and bad comments from all walks of life at that time also added fuel to the work and boosted its popularity. A natural science worker named Cheng Mingxiang also took the initiative to write a review. So I think there are two reasons for the success of The Cause of Laughter. First, the author's genius description. Second, the the facts adopted are not fictitious, but can stand in a purely objective position. The Cause of Laughter can promote a happy but not obscene style. He wants to stimulate people's emotions, and he wants to hint at the joy of life. His noble and pure pen and ink absolutely disdain the words happy but not obscene like those of a bacon shop. Only The Cause of Laughter can bear the responsibility. This is a good review. Left-wing critics at the time were not so polite. Qian Shinken A Ying published a lengthy discussion on Zhang Henshui in an essay. Here, it must be pointed out that the most important issue of consciousness reflected in Zhang Henshui's works. Generally speaking, reflection, the class consciousness in Zhang Henshui's works is the consciousness of feudal remnants. However, it is not pure. In his consciousness there are also considerable elements of the bourgeoisie. Put a hat on, the writer. Push him away. This seems very rash today. Regarding the cause of crying and laughing specifically, Xia Zhongnong also commented in an article. However, what the cause of crying and laughing grasps and describes is the relief of this society, which is negative, distorted, and disorganized. Therefore, in the structure of the entire story on the other hand, it forms an accidental make-do, which cannot escape the trap of the opera is out of tune, unless the gods come to pick it up in legendary novels, and the entertainers in Tianqiu are written as a dragon like hoeing and supporting. Weak chivalry has gone beyond reality, and attributing the fate of all evil warlords to the hands of a female chivalrous person who has everything in the world is self-evident in her distortion of reality and escaping from reality. This is typical ideological criticism. The little bourgeois readers they look down on will not read this kind of criticism. Judging from the text description alone, it is also rigid and paranoid, and cannot be compared with the free and smooth flow of The Cause of Laughter. But publishing this kind of text also unintentionally gives free advertising to the work. Zhang Henshui only realized how hot The Cause of Laughter is when he went to the south. In the autumn of that year, Zhang Henshui came to Shanghai. From party state romantics to prostitutes, as soon as they met, they asked about the cause of crying and laughing. This couldn't help but flatter me. The newspapers were even more heated and lively. Seeing that Zhang Henshui's works were so popular, the bookstore owner signed a contract to buy the copyright. At that time, the tabloids reported that Zhang Henshui had received tens of thousands of yuan in royalties within 10 minutes. Adding to his imagination, he wrote about buying a palace in Beijing and bringing his own car. According to Zhang Henshui's own account, Shen Jifang, then general manager of World Bookstore, invited him to talk to his factory. During this period, I asked him if he had any other manuscripts for sale. Zhang Henshui said that there are Chunming Foreign History and Jinfen Family. Shen Jifang believes that this is a manuscript that has already been published and cannot be counted as a new work. However, if it is sold, it can be accepted at 4 yuan per 1,000 words. This asking price is very high. At that time, it was difficult for most writers in Shanghai to get this remuneration for publishing in newspapers. At the second meeting, the friend persuaded Zhang Henshui to accept the conditions and sell the 2 manuscripts. Zhang Henshui estimated that each of these 2 books has about 1 million words, and the sales of these 2 books are a considerable amount of income. Shen Jifang said that Chunming Foreign History has been published in newspapers and he is willing to pay the royalties in one lump sum. The additional condition was that Beijing's papier mic be handed over to him for destruction. Jinfen Family is still being serialized, and the publishing rights fee can be paid in 4 installments. For every quarter of a manuscript received, he was paid 1,000 yuan. Zhang Henshui agreed. At the same time, Shen Jifang asked him to write 4 novels for World Book Company. One novel would be delivered every 3 months, with a word count of more than 100,000 words and less than 200,000 words. The manuscript fee could be as high as 8 yuans per 1,000 words. But this was a one-time buyout. No matter whether he published in a newspaper or published a book, no royalties would be paid. At that time, an ordinary family could barely live on a few yuan. 10 yuan could sustain life, and tens of yuan could lead to a relatively comfortable life. According to the research results in a monograph by Chen Minjuan, who specializes in this research, 1 yuan in 1930 was equivalent to about 60 yuans in 2009. According to Zhang Henshui's recollection, the publisher is still very concerned about credibility. The next day, the introducer sent the contract. After signing, he received the first payment of 4,000 yuans. In addition to the contract, the introducer also took the opportunity to ask Zhang Henshui to write a feature for a magazine he was familiar with. Out of love, Zhang Henshui agreed. This is a different world that was later published in Red Rose magazine. Probably because of this extra request, Zhang Henshui finally completed only 3 novels for World Book Company, namely The River is Red, The Lonely Bird in the Sunset and Beauty's Grace. The royalties were paid as agreed and amounted to several thousand yuan. The role of this money, according to Zhang Henshui, it can't be said to make a fortune. But considering the experience of selling literature to make a living, my income is really rare. But the help of this money to me, it's still a big deal. I solved part of the problem of marriage and education for my brothers and sisters. I also solved the problems of clothes and furniture that the Han family had been lacking for years. This was spiritually beneficial to my writing. I rented a courtyard house. It's a relatively spacious house. I have 2 study rooms, and my entertainment expenses are also covered. Because of the cause of laughter, Zhang Henshui's popularity and income have greatly increased. But are the stories, characters, and plot of this book really the novelist's words, completely fictitious by Zhang Henshui? Not really. At that time, Zhang Yueyuan, a friend who had a close relationship with Zhang every day and night, said that once, a friend invited the 2 of them to the theater to listen to an actor named Gao Qilan singing drums. Zhang Yueyuan has something to do and has not left yet. 2 or 3 days later, Zhang Henshui said to him, "Please go and listen. If you don't want to go, you can't. Listen. Now, even if you want to." It turned out that night, after Gao Qilan finished singing, she was robbed by a brigade commander named Tian. Everyone discussed and thought that it was too tyrannical for such a situation to occur in broad daylight. But Zhang Henshui had an opinion. If Gao Qilan was very unwilling, why would Brigadier Tian do this? That Brigadier Tian must also have something that satisfies Gao Qilan. But others mostly disagreed with Zhang Henshui because the warlords were running rampant and unscrupulous, and attacking a woman who sang drums was just a sign of bullying and oppression. But within a few days, a photo studio put up a wedding photo of Tian and Gao. In the photo, the 2 of them are smiling and radiant, without any sign of reluctance. Now that everyone thinks about it, Zhang Henshui's understanding of human nature and life is really much better. But the outcome of this matter was different. Gao Qilan's parents originally regarded their daughter as a money spinner for healthcare. Now that my daughter has been snatched away, it's hard to understand. They didn't ask for anyone from the Tian family. They only asked for their daughter's worth and money. After asking for a high price, we finally couldn't reach an agreement. Gao Qilan's father filed a complaint in court. Brigadier Tian is an active soldier and will be tried by a military court. The final result: Brigadier Tian, a soldier, raped a civilian girl and was sentenced to 1 year in prison. Gao Qilan was handed over to her parents to take it back. Soon after the case, the Gao family had no way to make a living, so they had to let Gao Qilan come out to sing drums again. But my heart is not what I want. I am no longer lively, my face is haggard, and I often cry at home. In the eyes of outsiders, it seems that they cannot forget their affection for Brigadier Tian. This incident obviously inspired Zhang Henshui's creative conception. Although the work did not develop like the real events, the main outline, coupled with people's general understanding of warlords at the time, became the basic clues for the direction of the subsequent novels. The serialized novels in newspapers and periodicals at that time were very different from today's method of publishing, most of them all at once or in series after they were written. Because the author is still in the process of writing, readers' reading interests and inclinations towards the fate of the characters will be fed back to newspaper editors. In order to attract readers, editors often put forward some requirements to the author that are in line with the wishes of most readers. For example, at the beginning of the writing of The Cause of Laughter, the editor asked Zhang Henshui to add martial arts characters to it. After the publication of The Cause of Laughter, we also faced such a situation. Readers wrote to the news office one after another, feeling that the ending of the protagonist in the book was not satisfactory. Many people asked the author to give an explanation in the form of a sequel. The editor of the newspaper saw this situation and informed Zhang Henshui of the readers' opinions, hoping that he could give the readers a reply. Of course, it also includes the idea of using a sequel to keep readers interested. Zhang Henshui had read many Chinese and foreign literary works, and had his own views on readers' needs and the laws of literature and art. He wrote an article talk after writing Tears and Laughter to give readers a general answer. Regarding novels, he shared his own experience with readers. In the composition of any novel, in addition to the meaning and rhetoric, there are 3 ways to write about narration. One is exaggeration, the second is interweaving, and the third is cutting. Zhang Henshui responded to the reader's desire to see a sequel with cutting. What is cutting? For example, a batch of materials is used to make clothes, but it cannot be made in its entirety. There are many pieces that are wanted and a few that are not wanted, and then the clothes are successful. The same is true for the selection of materials for novels. When historians write articles, it is said that they are not allowed to cut corners. However, when we look at the first chapter of Records of the Grand Historian, the biography of Shang Yu, he is written as a good man with a generous and tragic song, but it is just that the Hongmen and Gaixia sections are written with double effort. As for how many soldiers he led, how many battles he fought, and many of his daily lives, they are all erased. This should make it clear why some readers want to know all the content, but the work does not need to provide it. Speaking of the ending of the story, which most readers are very concerned about, Zhang Henshui interpreted it well. I think the ending of the whole book is a bit hasty, but beforehand, I spent some time considering. If it is a little longer, I will definitely write out all the cuts, dragging it out, and the atmosphere cannot be tense. If the ending is not tense, the spirit of the whole book will be lost. Zhang Henshui has literary insights. He fully considers the reading effect of the work, and is unwilling to satisfy the general desire of readers. In response to readers' requests for a sequel, Zhang Henshui's attitude was quite clear. I thank you for your support, but I have something to tell you. All works, whether they are plays, novels, or even essays, have their proper place, and cannot be continued randomly. The ancients advocated not to explore the mountains completely, but to leave 2 or 3 tents untouched, so as to leave some thoughts. This is what it means. So recently, many people advocate eating only until you are 80% full. Turning back to novels, although novels are a minor subject, they also have their own rules. They are not necessarily non-reunionism, nor are they necessarily reunionism. These are all literary common sense. Unfortunately, readers are currently trapped in the plot of the work, and they are stuck in a dead end, and they insist that the author explain the characters and events clearly. Therefore, Zhang Henshui was exhausted and kept explaining. Of course, this also includes the meaning of respecting readers. But when it comes to his own works, Zhang Henshui has a clear attitude. Tears and Laughter is naturally a very naive work, but since it is loved by readers, I certainly don't want it to be self-fulfilling or self-destructive. If a naive thing is made more naive, I am afraid it will also be a betrayal of the reader's love. So, in a word, I can't continue, don't need to continue, and dare not continue. Zhang Henshui is not an ordinary writer who agrees with readers. Because he has a clear understanding, he also uses strong language. He doesn't want to self-destruct. Can't, don't need, dare not continue. His attitude is firm enough. After all, it is regrettable. The author has such an understanding and attitude. Originally, all kinds of other dog-tail to Martin affairs should be avoided. But readers have thoughts and expectations about the characters in the work, and the shadows of the characters and plots always appear in their minds from time to time. For a work, it is really a good thing. It means that the work has touched the heartstrings of readers. But because of the author's attitude of can't, don't need, dare not, it gives some people who want to cater to readers and get a share of the pie an opportunity. Zhang Henshui politely said, "It's just that some readers have written other works based on my original book. Of course, some of them are better than the original book, but there are also some who don't fully understand the original book." The author dared not mainly did things he was unwilling to do, but these people did it for him. Zhang Henshui was obviously not very happy. No matter how skilled an author is, he will always have some love for his own works. As the saying goes, treasure one's own broom, and a melon seller says the melon is sweet. If someone puts flowers on this broom for me, I will be happy, but if someone smears mud on it, I will not be happy either. At that time, there were already several sequels to Tears and Laughter. One of them, Annie Tears and Laughter, completely reversed Zhang Henshui's story from beginning to end. It can be seen that the author is from the south and has never been north of the Yellow River. The various kinds of Beijing society they described are, of course, ridiculous. In addition, many readers are obsessed with the characters in the work. They kept writing to Zhang Henshui, expressing their hope to read the sequel of Tears and Laughter. In addition to readers, editors also kept informing and conveying the readers and their own wishes. All these made Zhang Henshui seriously consider writing a sequel. "I wrote the original book, of course. I am the only one who knows the characters in the book in the most detail. Other people's sequels may be new and different. For these reasons, I thought, why not give it a try?" Of course, Zhang Henshui knew that this is of course contradictory to my original advocacy of no need to continue. No need to continue. However, there is a little difference here, that is, my sequel is to find a way out outside the original work, so it may not be completely superfluous. In February 1933, 3 years after the book was published, after many considerations, Zhang Henshui began to write the sequel of Tears and Laughter. It didn't take long for Zhang Henshui to write Tears and Laughter sequel in 10 chapters. In the sequel, Zhang Henshui made Guan Shoufeng and his daughter, who were chivalrous, become guerrilla heroes fighting against the Japanese outside the Great Wall and died one after another. Shen Fengxi was not easy to deal with, so he could only let her go crazy and die. In the end, the young man from the south, Fan Jiashu, and the rich girl, Helena, gave them a wild sacrifice to pay tribute to the characters in the book. The atmosphere was far different from the previous intriguing ending of Guan's father and daughter disappearing into the depths of Yenshan. A researcher said, "It's really unnecessary to continue. It's better not to continue." The indignation was beyond words. Not only the researchers, but Zhang Henshui himself had told one of his nephews many times about his regret that he wrote the sequel to Tears and Laughter against his will. In a memoir, Zhang Henshui also said, "I know this is a burden, but it's not dragging." Of course, friends who expressed their good feelings to me said that I shouldn't continue. After the appearance of this sequel, of course it still couldn't satisfy the reader's thirst. In terms of effect, it has a dissolving effect on the original work. Fortunately, the sequel was published several years after the original book was serialized, so it did not have much impact. For many years, the Laughter and Tears still mainly appeared in the original form. Although this work was produced in the early 1930s, it has long been attractive. Until the 1980s, nearly half a century later, several publishing houses were still rushing to publish the book, and a TV station made a TV series. Although the times have evolved and readers' tastes have changed greatly, the Laughter and Tears is still popular for a while, which shows that it does have many elements that attract readers. Through the publication of the book, readers reflected that continuation and no continuation are entangled. We can understand the degree of attraction of a work, the differences in the cognition of readers and authors, the deviation of other people's sequels, and the contradiction of the author finally coming out to continue. Comparing today, we can clearly feel the common progress of readers and authors. But the stories that happened around the work, the Laughter and Tears, still provide us with a basis for understanding the society at that time and experiencing the atmosphere of the time. The times are developing, and history is not forgotten. Understanding the overall situation of Tears and Laughter can still give us a lot of inspiration for studying the relationship between literary and artistic creation and the public. Alright, This part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.